Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is the 20th of July, year 2022. I hope everyone is staying cool. It has been a hot summer here in Dallas, as well as a lot of cities all throughout the US. It has been really, really hot. And I even saw some news article that UK has been pretty hot as well. To start off, I wanted to welcome our panel here. The first person that I wanted to welcome is April, who has celebrated a birthday this week. Happy birthday, April! Big milestone. She's a psychic. She has quite a few modalities of healing under her belt, and she's been a regular member of our panel. So good evening, April. And then we have Francesca today joining us back. Good evening, Francesca, who is part of our core group of meditators. And then Patricia is here too. Good evening, Patricia. And then we have Ken on the road joining us, who is part of our core group of meditators. Good evening, Ken. Let me check the question
Hello.
before. Good evening. If I can see the question. Kimberly asked this question, April, and you would know, and then I'll switch out with another question once you answer. Would you please explain what a soul contract is and how soul contracts apply to individuals, family, friends, intimate relationships, and marriages? And I'll tag everyone while you're speaking. Thank you.
So can you hear me clearly, Poonam? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Thank
just
you.
want to make sure that that's coming through. So to simplify the concept of soul contracts, because it can get very in-depth and get kind of complicated too. Basically, as a soul, the goal is always to evolve as a soul. And that's whether you're here or you're on the other side. And you're always working towards evolving. And actually what we are working at is basically to gain that Christ consciousness, to get back to unity with Source. When you are a soul, you have the option of coming here to Earth to speed up that process, to speed up that evolution. And when you do that, you decide, again, I'm trying to make the story, it's very understandable, what it is that you want to work on in this lifetime. But it will always be something that is for the evolution of the soul. It'll always be something that's towards expansion, towards growth, love, unconditional love, oneness. Even though when we look at our lifetimes and we look at the things that we go through or other people have went through, it may not seem that way on the outside, but the core reason for your soul's plan would be to move you along this path. So you will pick certain things that you want to learn. And that will include your individual plan, your family plan, your friend plans, relationships, work, hobbies. It will include absolutely everything you can think of, even animals, random people, walking by in the store. It actually includes everything and everyone. But there are main themes that people tend to pick. So if you want to pick, I'll just name a few, unconditional love, then you will have experiences in your life that will bring that forward to you. If you want to experience forgiveness, you will have experiences in your life that will bring you to be able to grow, to evolve that state of being. That doesn't mean that everybody does it. And that doesn't mean that everybody, if you want to use the words like in essence, passes the test. However, the options will be presented to you because you pick those. So when you're on the other side, like for me, I apparently wanted to be psychic. I apparently wanted to be a healer in this lifetime. I wanted to evolve. So I grew up in a very difficult household, but I chose that as a soul on the other side. I'm sitting in this, not really you guys, in this conference room with these other souls. And I said, hey, I want to evolve and I want to become a healer and I want to become a psychic and I want to learn unconditional love. And these other souls came along and said, okay, well, how do you plan on doing that? Well, I probably should have a rough childhood and I should probably be very empathetic. I should be an empath. I should be able to feel, okay, well, you'll need some challenges so you'll get there. So like my father's soul came and he decided that he was going to be, have anger, which also runs in the family. So I picked the perfect family to have this angry environment that I would feel and that I would want to evolve from. Does that make sense? So it does include the family. It includes your friends, your neighbors. If you have like a really rough household, but then you had this one friend where you went to this house and you got this glimpse of a loving household, it plants that seed within you like, things can be different. That's part of your soul's plan. So it is all interconnected and linked and done on purpose, but it's done on the soul level. So here on the human level, it really doesn't feel that way a lot until you get to, if you're on this page listening to this group, then you're on the path of enlightenment. You're on the path of awakening. And when you get on this path, then it starts to make sense as to why in the world would I ever pick parents like that? Why did I pick, a sibling like that? Why did I do that? It starts to make sense when you get on this path. You can see that everything is perfectly designed. Does that make sense, Poonam?
So you would say, April, that any of the challenges that our soul contract, we already, it's not so much as we mentally, intellectually wrote something. It is our soul that chose the lesson. And that contract is already written. And
Yes.
it doesn't matter, we may say, okay, so if my mom was verbally and physically abusive, if my mom was taken away, somebody else would take their place. It's not like my
Yes.
contract would end just because my mom was taken away.
Right. Until you learn the lesson, until you have gained the state of being that you decided to gain before you came here. So these are really states of being. Christ consciousness is a state of being. It's a level of understanding. It's a level, like when we say that we're going to 3D, 4D, 5D, those are really levels of consciousness. So it's a level of consciousness that you decided you wanted to achieve in this lifetime. Is really what it is. And yes, if mom was to leave, then another person would come in until you really fully learn that level of consciousness and really that level of forgiveness, that level of love. Include your marriages and everything. There isn't anything that's not included.
And here I would say that that's why Eckhart says, accept as if you chose it.
Mhm.
right?
Now there's free will as to how it can play out. But if your soul set, a particular goal, it's after that goal. It's so you do have some freedom as far as, but like you said, if I was supposed to learn that and I was supposed to, get married and have a bad marriage and I chose not to do that, it would manifest in a different way.
So if we think that we are trying to avoid the soul contract, there's no avoidance. That lesson will appear over and over and over again. Like Oprah says, right? Wearing a different skirt or wearing a different pair of pants, the lesson will be provided, right?
It will. Now, you do have, some amount of free will. So if you do not learn that lesson or achieve that level of consciousness awareness in this lifetime, then you can come back and you can learn it next time. So it's not like you fail or you get in trouble or you're bad. You just have to come back and learn it again until you fully gain it.
And how much
So,
pain and suffering. Patricia
yeah.
is asking, how do we know what the lesson is?
Well, usually there's patterns in your life that seem to come up repeatedly. So you want to look at your patterns. If you have, judgmental people and everywhere you go, they're judgmental, or if you have angry people, and even if you get a job, you have an angry boss so you want to look for your patterns that show up, and that'll usually tell you what kind of lesson. The lesson really underlining it is acceptance and unconditional love, really, under each lesson. But however, there are different lessons that people pick. And to some extent, you have to learn the lesson. But once you learn it, that does change the path of your life. Like, it doesn't make things not happen, but it does change the path, and it does allow, it reduces the amount of suffering, right? Once you do that, and you can go back, you can do, like in your meditations and things like that, you can go back, energy work, and you can heal the past, the things you've experienced. But you can't delete the soul contract necessarily.
Can you say that one more time, April? Sorry, thank you.
So if you have set a goal, so if your soul is at a certain level and this is what you need to learn, and you decide you want to go to a new level, like last time I learned how to care, but I didn't necessarily learn how to love. So this time I'm going to go a step further. I cared, and I was in charge of a city or a town, and I cared, but I didn't necessarily love. So this time I'm going to be more connected with the people, and I'm going to learn to love them. So I've moved up a level.
Okay.
And you don't get to delete your goal, your soul contract. It's not something you can heal the past. You can even heal the future, because there's no such thing as time. However, you can't actually delete the soul contract.
Beautiful. And that's the wisdom that the soul is going to take back. Like if I learned the lesson to love this time, then I'm going to take that back, and there will be some other lesson that I need to come back with, but at least I know caring and loving.
Yeah. And then of course, then you've got the whole concept that there's many levels to love. So you can keep expanding on that, but yeah. Yep. You don't really get to delete it.
One of the things that came to my mind when Patricia asked that question, the way we know that it is a lesson is whatever is the experience of the present moment if it provides an emotional scale of negative in us, right? Like for me, a very easy example is envy. I was very envious of my brother. Like I know I can remember to the youngest point that I was very envious of my brother. And I always thought that my mother favored my brother more than me, just out of the cultural interpret. Like I took on that conditioned pattern, and that's why I talk so much about limiting beliefs and conditioned patterns, because I see it in myself that that envy was there, and I kind of interpreted it as my mother always favored my brother more than me. That moved on to coming here in the US and thinking I'm brown skinned, and that's why people favor other people, and I'm a woman. Remember 20, 30 years back, it's like if you were a woman you were always discriminated, right? So that same envy moved into that, until I got to the point 10 years back that I wanted, like with Eckhart's teachings, then I learned acceptance. And with that I started to help my coworkers. Like the way I overwrote the pattern is, instead of feeling the envy, i would I would think of every person, where Eckhart says there are no enemies, who you are is in the other. I started to see my coworkers as myself, and so there was no competition anymore. Like I wouldn't feel the competition anymore. I wouldn't feel the competition with my brother anymore, and slowly that eroded that pattern. So I feel I've learned the lesson of envy successfully.
And I guess in essence, then that would, that completes that soul goal, that soul plan, that completes that. And for me, mine was my turning was self-esteem. That was one of mine, is that I know almost all of my issues came from no self-esteem. I had no self-esteem. And when I started to look out into the world, I realized that not very many other people had it either. So that's part of my soul contract, is that's one of my passions. So part of your soul contracts can be passions as well. And my passion became that if you could just realize that who you are and who you truly are, that you're connected to source, there's no way you couldn't have worth. How can you not have any? So.
Okay. I'm going to move to the second question as well, April, because this comes from our last discussion. So I want it raised. This comes from Hugh, and Hugh's been also present with us live. He asks, I want to ask the panel thoughts about why I can't digest unconscious people like I have done my entire life. With me being one of them, I never noticed that it was normal to insult and be the force to be reckoned with. Fighting fire with was my slogan. I've been into Eckhart for 3 years now, thank God. I will share how that happens later. I'm single and have talked with numerous women only to be so turned off by their rigid ego and preconditioned version of happiness. I've realized it is so much easier to be alone and happy than to take on another person's unconscious values. My last question was directed towards this scenario. Maybe pain body was not the correct word. So it's like I don't feel like giving up my energy to help a brick turn into a pillow. Am I missing something? So can you help me deliver this question, or just lay out the whole scenario like I just, okay, the rest of it doesn't matter. If you want to answer that question. So can you help me deliver this question? So he doesn't feel like giving his energy to help brick turn into pillow. And this question was asked. You're on mute, April.
Sorry. But if we look into this, Poonam, he still he's still kind of functioning from that pain body and from that ego, because what this reminds me of is Eckhart's famous story of when his neighbor come over and she was all upset and complaining about the apartment complex, and he did nothing. He just sat there. He didn't do anything. He didn't say anything. And within, however long, she went on, and she just stops and looks at him and says, "None of this is important, is it?" He said, "No." And then the next day, she wants to know what he did to her. So, like this statement, why I can't digest unconscious people, like I've done my entire life, with me being one of them, to me, that's still not reaching the state of that unconditional love, that presence, almost being there, but not there. And then also, there's still part of him that he is recognizing in the other. So it's like a mirror in front of him, and he's still not liking what he's seeing. So there's still a little bit of healing to me that needs to be done in that area. He says, I never noticed fighting fire with fire. Yeah.
It's almost like a
Yeah.
reactive, there's
Yeah.
reactivity in that response, right? With me being one of them, I never noticed that it was normal to insult and be, no.
Mhm.
Here, I have been into Eckhart for 3 years.
Yeah.
I am single and I've talked to numerous women only to be so turned off by the rigid ego. That's resistance, to be turned off by the rigid
It
ego.
is. It is.
Right?
And that is like he's
And then
like
the ego is saying,
looking for.
and the ego is saying, I realized this is so much, it is better to be with, I don't want any women at all. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, I have resistance. I didn't like how unconscious they were. And I don't want any women, but that's resistance as well.
Yeah, but it's also a defense mechanism. So instead of, again, approaching it with presence and love, we're approaching it with, like when Eckhart said that he would go to the museums and he would not do the tour, he would not get the brochure, he would just go and be present and not have any information and take it in. It's the same kind of thing here, that when you're talking to women or meeting women, you are going in with a brochure, you're going in with a preconceived notion that, and so you're going in with a judgment. And if you come up to women who have these qualities, presence would tell you to still love them, but just acknowledge the level they're at. You still send them love, and okay, well, that's where that person's at. Then you clarify. So one of the tricks for the universe is you want to clarify what you are looking for, not shut it down and say, that's it, I just better off be by myself. And then that opens that energy to actually bring the right energy to you. See, all of this right here is actually closing down the energy to bringing in the person that he's looking for. And that's the part that he's missing, is he's kind of has a guard up.
Yep.
So it's not allowing that flow.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Incredible. Thank you so much, April, for both questions. And then, as Eckhart says, we manifest according to our inner state, right? We attract and manifest according to our inner state. So if I'm attracting women that are unconscious, then there's unconsciousness in me that is attracting the women, because it's a mirror who I'm attracting in my life, right? So that needs
Yes.
to be looked at.
Yeah, that's why I think a little bit of him, it's kind of like when I work with addiction and people will get sober and then they'll go into a place and they'll watch people be drunk and they'll be like, oh my gosh, was that me? Was I the one on the table? Yes, you were the one on the table, So a little piece of him is seeing himself in these other people.
Mhm.
Right.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, April. Ken, since you're on the road, I'll give you a chance to speak in case you get disconnected.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I just love the topic. I love what April had had to say about both topics. And Poonam, do me a favor. Ask me the first question.
It was about soul contracts. Would you please explain what a
Okay.
soul contract and how soul contracts apply to individual, family,
Yes.
friends, intimate relationships, and marriages? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. Soul contract to me is we came into this earth plane. We were born into the family, and we came in to learn certain lessons and to understand what a contract is was to live a life that didn't make sense, repeating behaviors over and over and over in human thinking, being unconscious. Your life really isn't working. So there were a lot of negativity. There were a lot of things that weren't working. And then slowly, things started to appear differently. It's kind of like, in layman's terms, like going to school. And each grade, you learn a little bit more. And so there's actually what I call Earth School. And there are certain things that you feel you understand. There are certain things that do make sense. There are certain things that do flow. And to me, that there is living your purpose. There's what I feel like we're born with this seed inside of us. And that seed meaning our purpose. There's something I'm supposed to do. And as I do things that are pertaining to that purpose of following my intuition, following my heart. And at those times, I didn't really understand it, but things started to make sense a little better. And then as I evolved, or as someone does evolve, they will meet certain people, certain circumstances. It could be jobs, family members, friends, partnerships, whatever. They're all there to push us forward to a higher level of presence or a higher level of consciousness. And that there, things will get repeated. And I know for myself, I had many addictions. And it took me a long time to understand what the addictions were. And my thinking, my emotional status had to change. And I didn't know that. I thought it was just my thinking that had to change. And then lo and behold, after a while, things didn't make sense again. And then I realized that I was repeating an addiction in a whole different way. So then you go through areas of pain, you go through areas of discomfort, and then you start bumping into people, or then you start become in alignment to other people. So it's something where you just keep working at it. And some days you feel good, and other days you don't feel good. And for me now, I'm actually accepting the uncomfortability as a huge part of the healing or a part of the contract. And as I shift and change, and as I start mirroring other people, I start feeling inspired. There were certain people that really inspired me. And I started to realize that that was a part of me as my purpose, or that was a part of me I'm supposed to do something or I'm not supposed to do something. So I start to understand that there are two languages, one of fear and one of love, one of being unconscious or one to be conscious. And I started more and more realizing that I needed to get out of my head. And so people, if they don't understand this language, usually they're trying to perfect their thinking understanding. And then hopefully they get to a point where they realize that there's something beyond the thinking mind. There's something in the presence. There's something in the now. So, and I'm going to talk about there's something that I was in a relationship, and I'm going to get back on the second question that Poonam was asking about other people coming into your life. And this relationship was a roller coaster. It was learning different things, but not leaving. It was a time period to see the pain body. It was to see what was uncomfortable. It was to see the patterns, and it brought on a lot of pain. And this particular relationship went on and went on. And actually 10 months ago, I broke free of the relationship. And I'm like, I felt in my heart, I felt in my inner being, things started to shift. I sold my house. I wanted to change locations. I knew that I was shifting and changing and letting go of the relationship. There were 3 or 4 different times that person would want to get back. And I said, no. And at one time, I would have said yes. I would have tried to appease this person or different relationships, the patterns. And just last week, this person called me up. And what she told me, the biggest gift that I gave her was leaving her. Because of all the things that we went through, we both realized that we were resisting, we were fighting, we were trying to change the other person. And then we were always agitated. So in a way, we were both mirroring each other. And we were critical and judgmental. And during that time, a lot of work had been done on what I needed to work through. But I knew I needed to do it without being in a relationship. Well, in all actuality is she was doing the exact same thing. So when she called me up, she started saying all these different things. And it was amazing, the conversations, we would listen to each other. We were realizing both of us had woundings that we needed to work through. And this goes back to the same thing as being in a contract or getting to a higher level of presence or a higher level of unconditional love. It's something where I'm learning now, and I left for a few months by myself. And it was the best gift I could give myself. And it was really, really hard because I'm traveling for 3 months by myself, but I always want to do it with somebody. And all along, I need to do it by myself. And I'm learning to love and accept myself. And all the different things that are coming up, I'm working through them rather than pushing them under the rug. And that goes again with the pain body. That goes against projecting stuff onto other people. So it's just amazing that now when I'm present, everything around me is a gift, and everything around me is being a message or a messenger to what I need to see and understand. Because the presence energy comes from the same presence energy that's in plants, people, places, things. It's just amazing how interconnected I am to everything. And I would not be able to see this or experience this if I was with somebody. So, and then this person just last night, she says, I would like to come out and see you. And I said, no. And there was a part of me that wanted to say yes. And I said, no. And after I thought about it, and even this morning, it was really uncomfortable. And then I started to feel better. So I'm really starting to put the pieces together inside myself on how I have to be more, what's the word I'm thinking of? I need to process, and I need to think and feel the different things that come up. And as I do that, the downloading of information comes through, and you start to feel a lightness in this presence. You start to feel like there's no problems. Realizing that this inner presence is coming through me, not from me. So it's just amazing on how this all comes together. And just listening to different people, when I fully listen, many times we're saying the same thing. We just have a different way of expressing with our words and with our deeper understanding. So thank you.
Patricia asks, what was your main lesson, Ken? Do you know what your main lesson was? I think I know what Ken's main lesson was.
My main lesson,
I think you're on mute.
realized that what I wanted all my life, I wanted a relationship. And as all those, why did I want a relationship? Because I wanted somebody to love me. Why did I want a relationship? Because I want to be alone. So by me being by myself, I'm alone at all. And it's something where I'm loving myself and realizing that this love that I'm now seeing and feeling within myself is like, this is what I've been waiting for. And as I start to feel it for myself, I can now have more compassion and more understanding, but I need to be honest and truthful to myself. And when I am, and then I'm honest with the other person, it's actually amazing. It has to come through me, not outside of me. And that there to me is the miracle or the unconditional love that I've been looking for. Is that helpful, Patricia?
I think we have you off video, Ken. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I want to pick up something that Summer said. I'm going to copy it here. Bless you, Francesca. At my brother's funeral, for sure, people noted how smart, gentle, generous, and wonderful he was as the first boy after my grandpa had 5 daughters. But his eldest daughter brought him a boy. The prince arrived. Me, well, I'm just another girl. So the same thing, Summer had the same thing, envy with the brother. Right, April? It's just another girl. We'll visit in the hospital when you have another boy.
Yeah, it's the same. And that's it's also the culture thing that you were talking about, the culture thing, the patterns.
Yes.
And that does go into the soul plan because, not feeling important, not feeling like, everybody's just doting over this boy, but not you. And you get that kind of rejected type feeling that is perfectly designed in your plan so that you will foster self-love.
There's an abandonment intertwined with the
Yeah.
rejection, right? The self-esteem. So we grow up as women with low self-esteem, that we may not be good enough. The man is better. The boy
Yeah.
is better than the girl.
Plus
Beautiful.
our culture, and I think the culture is changing, but our culture was definitely that way. And I think I've spoke about this, Poonam. My mother readily admitted that she liked my brother more than me. She
Oh,
liked
wow.
she loved, oh, I didn't know, I didn't tell you. My mother, yes, absolutely 100% admitted all the time that she liked my brother more than me.
Mhm.
So
And you're just two children?
it was just me and my brother. Yep.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
another secondary abandonment, right? Like if
Yeah.
she is,
Yeah, I won't say what well, I'll type it in the chat what she's told me in person, but basically it was extremely clear in many times, many ways. So well, that's another link we have that
Mhm.
you know,
wow.
yep.
Yes. Yes.
So it is
And
an
then,
abandonment, but it is part of the soul's plan to have that rejection, that abandonment, and to learn to work through it. It's not easy to work through these things. So we don't want to pose that they're easy in any way. And like Ken was saying, it's a journey, it's a process, but you keep learning. And I think the reason that we keep learning and we keep going, we have those ebbs and flows. We go up, then we kind of go down, we go up, and we kind of go down, is because we want you to keep going forward. We want you to keep expanding. And many people, if they're just in this bliss, they don't expand.
and
Mhm.
here I would say, instead of saying the prince arrived, I would say, accept as if you chose it. Yes, I should have a brother and I'm not less than him. You have to come to that realization, and that's why the lesson is given, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much. With Ken, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, since Ken talks about it a lot, is I think addiction also runs in families, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
It's a collective. So all these soul lessons that we talk about, that our soul is getting ready to learn a lesson, it's not so much a lesson that is very personal to us. It's just the non-physical entity that we are is choosing to come down, go through this path, but we come choosing a path of generations of physical abuse, generations of verbal abuse, generations of other kinds of abuse, right? Generations
Mhm.
of alcohol addiction, generations of some kind of addiction, right? Our greatest addiction, as Eckhart says, being to our thinking mind. But these are the things that we need to heal. Is okay, did we heal our addiction to this? Did we heal our addiction to this? Did we heal? And what I've noticed with addiction is, yeah, we'll heal our addiction to alcohol, but we'll move it to something else. If you heal it to this, we'll move it to something else. Like one of my hairstylists, he moved from addiction to alcohol. He became sober, but then his addiction moved to food. He could never control the amount of food, right? And food, we feel, is very easy. Like it's not socially unacceptable, right? Alcohol is in our face. Like alcohol addiction, drug addiction is in our face. We can see the person not performing. But food addiction, we kind of think, oh, or being a workaholic, right? Workaholic
Mhm.
is an addiction, and
Oh, absolutely.
we kind of think that is American society, if a person works 18 hours a day, it's like the best person, the best corporate America, great person. He works weekends, he works all the weekdays, he hardly ever sleeps, and by the time he's 30, 40, he has cancer, he has heart stroke. We're not
Mhm.
realizing what that um, accolades are doing to that person physically because of the stress that that person is doing. But work addiction is also an addiction. I mean, people may think that it's not.
Absolutely. Um, I started out, drinking a lot. So I had that addiction. And then I stopped drinking for over 15 years, but I was a workaholic. And at that time, I had not worked on my emotions. And so I was a mess inside, but I was trying to fake it. And I was trying to fake it by working more and more and more. And I was trying to cover up all the different things I never wanted to feel. So I can really see addiction is affected by the emotions. It's affected by absolute the substance. You don't sleep well, you overwork, you overthink. So all these different things are affected. And then as I've done so much work, I want to say holistically, and now I'm going much deeper into the family. I'm seeing so many different areas. Just as April was saying, you go deeper into the contract, you realize that these issues that we're dealing with can happen from past lives. They can happen from so many different areas. And I think that we're drawn to, when we do the work, we're drawn to what we need to work at. And that's the experience that we're actually experiencing. And I feel like each and every one of us has this path, and it's up to each and every one of us to walk that path. What may work for you may not work for me. And so I've learned more and more and more, because I used to be really judgmental, just as the second question on that man, and I loved it. And I loved your answer, Poonam and April. That man gave up because he didn't want to see himself. So he pointed the finger and says, okay, I'm going to judge you, and I'm not going to look at me. To me, that was so obvious. And I know that because I did the same thing. And I realized that many times with different people, that what's going on is a lot of denial of what we don't want to look at. So it's amazing. It's really, really amazing. And I know my path is to work on myself. And I actually enjoy the spiritual awakening and what that involves. It's just so incredible. So thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And
Thank you.
this reminds me of Rupert Spira saying, I don't know how exactly he puts it. He says, every person needs to turn towards their partner and say, I don't need your love, right? To be myself. I don't need your love to be myself.
Correct.
I don't need your love. So when we
Right.
get to that point, and I think even Byron Katie says, it's not it's not your job to love me. It's my job to love you, right? And I kind of exonerate you from loving me. Like my partner does not need me to love me for me to love him, right?
That's right.
More.
Absolutely.
That's more
And
an unconditional love, that you love your partner no matter whether they love you or don't.
correct.
So,
Correct.
perfect.
That's, yeah,
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
That's when we have freedom, when we get to that point.
It's amazing.
Francesca, did you want to say something about both topics? I put them in and then I'll go to check the chat, see if something more came through. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, you guys have covered it pretty much. Like April said on the first topic with regards to soul contracts, right? We came here to evolve, right? To learn. It's like consciousness came here to learn about itself, to see itself, right? To experience itself. And that's the essence. That's who we are. We're consciousness experiencing and expressing itself in any moment, you know, every second of every day, in every way, shape, or form. And so, you know, our soul contracts, when it comes to everything from the very parent we choose, you know, or our siblings, those are all people, even our co-workers, you know, and the people that we engage with from day to day, or that comes in and out of our life. whether we choose them, as friends or whoever it is, they're all part of our soul contract, because one of my greatest lessons, or one of my favorite things to say in my journey is, oh my God, thank God. My favorite thing to say is like, thank you, God, thank you, universe. Thank you so much for that experience, because had it not been for whatever it is I experience, especially when it's really, really, triggering or in the darker realms, had it not been for that experience, I wouldn't have known this wisdom or realize this wisdom that I just came into. I wouldn't have learned this lesson, like, wow, like amazing, I blow my own mind over and over again, kind of that feeling, and the joy that comes out of that. So in relation, yes, to our soul contract, absolutely. In order to find those lessons, we don't even have to look very far. Just pay attention, being awareness in relation to how we show up in our day-to-day lives, how we respond to triggers, or how we're literally, how our state of beingness, I guess is the word that I'm using, I'm looking for when we are, whether we're walking to the grocery store or walking to the coffee shop, and we're looking, we're one with nature, or we're looking at people, along the way. Where is our state of mind? Are we judging, or are we walking from that state of joy, ease, and flow and grace, right? These are ways that you can, being in awareness are ways in which you can also see yourself and understand yourself based on, and in relation to where you're at in your journey. It gives you clues, or an idea of whether you've evolved or not, from any particular lesson. Like recently, my own has been very humbling, actually. I went from, being quiet and being this blissful, joyful, graceful state, and showing up from all this work that I've done, to going right into the hell realm, and all of a sudden I was showing up from the way I used to show up before I even started this journey. And I was like, oh my God, like, how could this even happen? How is this even possible? But what came out of that was the recognition. Like, immediately I knew when I showed up, from, I call it the lower realms of consciousness, as opposed to my higher state of consciousness, I realized that, oh my goodness, I have unfinished soul contracts with my family, my siblings, and my ex, and so forth. And this is why this is coming up. This is why that's triggering me. So what I did was I sat with those triggers. I sat with the feeling that was arising, even my reaction, the words, every single word, that I said. I sat with all of it, and I did my, self-examination process, right, through meditation. And in the end, I came out of that whole thing, like, as you know, my mom's in palliative care at the moment. I went into deep silence for 5 days. Actually, it ended up being almost 2 weeks of silence, because I was silent for a week before I went to the retreat. And in the process of that, just nothing, no speaking, and just being fully present with everything that I was feeling, I ended up fully being able to let go of, my need to know more than I felt that I was already knowing, or hearing. I let go of my need for anything, really. My need to be there in Toronto with my mom, and I just started letting go. And the more I let go, the more present I became with me, my higher conscious state, without all the noise of the egoic state of mind, and any, leftover pain body that was, playing around and arising. And in the process, I ended up transcending the entire experience. And the moment I did, I had, and I know this is going to sound strange, because my mom is still here, even though she's in palliative care. According to the doctor, she has just a few more weeks to live. And one of the things I was struggling with was being able to say my goodbye to her. And I came back from that retreat and I was able to, as I was doing it, I realized it was I was able to experience the most beautiful, profound goodbye you could possibly imagine, all the thoughts and speeches that I had in my mind that I had, come up with prior to that retreat. I was like, it didn't even matter because none of it was nothing near what the conversation that I ended up having with my mom after that retreat, and again, it comes back to that soul contract because I was guided to read my conversation with God, the one that I downloaded in 2018 after the monastery. And, as I was reading it, it was my way of letting my mom know that I know what's happening to her right now. I understand what's happening to her. And as a result of that, I am at peace and I'm okay with it now. And so because the conversation have different parts there, it has like a forgiveness piece and so forth, my mom, she cried. I literally, she kept, because she was really worried. She's so worried about my health that she didn't want me to worry. And she felt that me being there and knowing what was going on would cause worry. And it did. There was sadness, but that sadness, all of it just alchemized because I was able. And so I had the most beautiful goodbye by reading to her my conversation with God. And then I wrote I had the most beautiful experience, which is, from that lesson came in Be as Nature. So there's a lot more that I can share that happened with regards to that. I guess where I'm going in relation to soul contracts and being as nature. The message that I received from God, creator, universe, source, whatever, the quantum field, whatever, name you want to call it, is to literally be as nature. Nature, every single season, it dies, something dies, the trees, the plants, the flowers, right? It has to die in order to rebirth. And this entire process of our evolution is about death and rebirth, whether we're dissolving an old pain body or evolving it, we're going through that process of death, right? Of the old, of that no longer serves us. And when we're moving through that process, it feels absolutely horrific, some of it, depending on the size of that pain body that we're moving or evolving, right? And so, the idea of the soul contract, and it's not an idea because it's very much real. We do get the opportunity to complete parts of our soul contract as we evolve. And, everything that April shared with regards to that, and Ken as well, is absolutely profound because that's what we're here to do, to evolve our consciousness so that we can experience and express ourselves from our divinity, which is the essence of who we truly are. And so, in relation to the second question, which is, this beautiful man who I can tell, he's very, very deep in his journey.
He's here with us. He joined the Zoom.
Okay, that's awesome. Can I ask his name if he's okay with that, or?
It's Hugh. He joined.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this beautiful man, I could tell he's deep in his journey. And actually, he is so deep, he's actually at the point in his journey where he is going to start to learn the lessons in relation to standing, coming into his full power. Because as we evolve, something happens as we start to come into our real power. And I call it real power because there is, power that the egoic state of mind will convince us, along the way it's power, but it's not, of course, And so from reading his question, like I could see his depth because I was exactly where he was at one point in my journey myself,
How long ago was that?
I'm sorry?
How long ago was that?
Oh, this was a few years ago now. Yes, I was exactly where you were, and behind that, so I'm going to take you a little bit in relation to what was behind that, Hugh, is behind that there was fear that I didn't know was there. And fear and inexperience when it comes to energy. So as an empath, I would, sit with somebody and that energy would penetrate my consciousness. And, I would get exhausted, I would feel drained. And what would happen is it would trigger a process of judgment or and so I would be thinking, oh my goodness, yeah, I should have just stayed home. I shouldn't have had that conversation because now I'm drained. And so what's happening is it's very sneaky, actually, the way in which it happens, because it would trigger my pain body. And here is the thing, the ego is very, very, it's why I call it the trickster. I name it the trickster sometimes, and I refer to it as the trickster because it's very, very tricky, because you would be, you are evolving, everything is beautiful, you understand, you've come into the level of your journey where you understand the pain body, you know what it is, you understand the egoic state of mind, you can recognize it when, when it's showing up in front of you through all the relationships and people that you're meeting and so forth. But, however, what we don't recognize when we're in that state is that even though we're feeling that bliss and that joy, because we've done a tremendous amount of inner work in order to get there, to be in that state of awareness, what we don't realize is that below all of that, there's still pain bodies playing in the background, like the little, musician. So there's the ego in the front, and the conductor of everything that, is so the ego starts, what happens is as we evolve, our egoic state of mind also starts to evolve. See, we don't dissolve. We think that we can, I've heard this terminology and I no longer use it because I used to use it in the past too. I've heard things like, we're going to quiet the mind, but the truth is we're not in control of anything when it comes to that. So as we evolve, our egoic state of mind evolves, and as it evolves, it starts to find more sneaky ways of playing with our pain body. So when we're carrying a pain body still, and if we're sitting with someone, let's say a woman that we meet, and we're seeing this person's pain body, the truth is they're only able to penetrate our consciousness. So we're only able to pick up the energy from that other person's pain body because we're also carrying it at a deeper level. We just no longer recognize it because everything is now playing itself out at a different level, and it becomes really sneaky and difficult to see, right?
Yeah, it's almost like a trigger.
It is because, and then what happens if you're not very careful with that is what the ego will do is it will start to convince you to hide as in you're thinking, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't go out, because, and it would find all these beautiful, and song, I say beautiful because it sounds very sophisticated, new ways of making us hide and think that, oh my goodness, yeah, you know what, I don't want to entertain that, or, I don't want to compromise. The key here is
that's sort of what April was saying about the mirroring. I was seeing that
yes.
the way I used to be, and I see it now, but it wasn't like it was, I want to say I'm lazy. I don't want to put the work in because I already know what it took me to get here. And then I just like, man, I'll just look for another prize somewhere else,
Absolutely, right.
That's being, I'm being honest, but maybe that's wrong too,
Well, in Buddhism, they refer to that as clinging, right?
What?
Because we've gotten to a state in that journey, and now we just want to hold it. We don't want to, we don't want to let it go. So here is the thing. The key is to let it go, because remember I said you're at the stage of your journey where I can recognize you're going to come into more power. Mm-hmm. The key is to let it go. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to pierce that veil so you could come into your next level of power. And your next level of power is awesome, because what ends up happening when you've done that work, you could walk into any room and you could stand in front of anyone, you could meet anybody, and you're standing so you feel so grounded in that power. Nothing will penetrate your consciousness unless you allow it to, or unless you're carrying that condition, that subconscious energy. Unless you're carrying that energy yourself, what will happen is when you enter that space with somebody else, that energy naturally, so even when they're speaking, it kind of looks like this. It comes at you and then it kind of just bounces and goes. And normally I visualize it bouncing and going up, because it goes, kind of evolves wherever it goes. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't penetrate your consciousness when you no longer carry that pain body. So I would encourage you, because I could see you're at a beautiful, beautiful space in your journey to really, sit with what's coming up. I don't really see it as judgment, even though it is, just at another level, right? It's a little bit more sophisticated, it's more than just that, right? The question I would ask is, who is telling me to think this way? Who's telling what? So when you meet somebody and this is what you're thinking about them, so you meet this woman and you're thinking, oh my God, yeah, she's so unconscious and she's at a low vibration and I don't want to be with her, because then I'm going to be picking up that pain body. Who's narrating all of those thoughts?
Oh yeah, you got it.
Right.
I'm just saying, but you're spot on, man.
Thank you. I'm a reflection of you, Hugh. I am a reflection of you, because you are literally there.
Ken says he puts the work in, and I was thinking, well, okay, is this what Ken's talking about? Put the work in that relationship? I think I'll stick with me. I think it's a little bit more easier at this point, but I think I was just getting it screwed up, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to get pushed in the right direction.
Yes, and again, it's these little games that the egoic state of mind play, because as you evolve, it becomes smarter, right? And It goes, okay, so this is what he is going to do. And you know what? It will keep you wrapped into that state of consciousness as long as you allow it. But the moment you start to question it, it will try to fight back too. Of course it does, right? That's what it does, right? And the way it does that is, again, a little bit more sophisticated, right? In the way in which it does that. But I would highly, in the way in which it do, I would highly, highly encourage you to lean into that a little bit more. And the more you lean into that, you will gain. So that confidence, that it's right now, it's robbing you of that, right? It's robbing you because you're not confident enough to stand fully in your power. And that's because you're almost there. You could taste it, but not quite there. I highly, highly recommend leaning into it, allowing yourself to soften and look at what the mirror is reflecting back to you and work on those reflections, right? Which is just a little bit of shadow work. It's not even a lot. There is literally in between all of what you're seeing, there's literally one sentence in there. And as soon as you're able to pick what that is, you will find the lesson, and the rest of it will literally evaporate because you won't have to do anything else. The key is to look and to find it. It's like a little gem, a little diamond in the rough. A little, yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Francesca. Before I go to Patricia, real quick, April, Kimberly said, so I guess I don't get a do-over for the soul contract that I don't remember signing before I was born.
Yeah. So most of us don't remember signing it before we're born. And most of us, especially when you start to wake up to this, like I said, we're like, what the heck? I more than can't even count how many times said, what the heck was I thinking as a soul? And remember that we've said, and Ken said too, like you do get a do-over. You can have 1,000 do-overs if you want. It's endless do-overs. However, your soul probably will get tired of that and will really push you. So yes, if you do not achieve that goal in this lifetime, you can absolutely come back and try again with a different scenario, same scenario. And there's no pass or fail. It's really all pass, because there's truly no judgment. When you're on the other side and you're looking at how you did in this lifetime as a soul, it's not a condemning thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a like, oh, okay, well, I should try that again. That was fun. Again, that's soul perspective. That's not human perspective. So yeah, don't worry. You can come back and try again and again. That's actually what we're all doing.
I remember once in one of the Facebook lives, you said you get to repeat fourth grade or something, and you may get to repeat fourth grade like 4 or 5 times before you move on to 5th grade. That's all there is to it, right?
There's absolutely no judgment on the other side. And yeah, you can repeat it as many times as you need to. Again, because the ultimate goal is we left source originally, source spread out into us, our individual souls, not us, our human body, but our individual souls. And that soul is actually on this journey to grow, expand, and evolve as it goes back to the one, that Christ consciousness.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, April. Patricia, did you want to say something about both questions before? I know you said that you may want to leave, but I wanted you to contribute before you leave. And maybe you'll be the last person that speaks. It's been more than an hour. Go ahead.
Thank you. Absolutely. I actually have more questions, so I don't know if this is gonna make everybody talk more, but the soul contract that I first heard from April, she introduced it. I think it's either one of our seminars or just maybe live Q&As. It just, recognizing the truth of it was incredible. It just hit me that that's the only explanation that makes sense, because why other way we would put ourselves through that earthly experiences if there was no point to them. And I was thinking about my lesson, and you know, it comes up like different ones, but there are levels and levels, and it all boils down to that unconditional love, because I got stuck on the trusting that somehow someone or the universe of God will have my back no matter what, and I don't have to prove anything to be loved. So that was, I realized it's still pretty painful for me. So I still to this time, I still have moments when I'm okay and I'm aligned and I feel whole and complete, but the other stuff comes up. It's like, I have to be perfect. I have to get this right for my boss to accept me, for my coworkers, for my friends, for just, it just keeps coming up. And I wonder if you guys have that there is that help that sometimes comes up, and I don't know if it's grace or maybe I just didn't suffer enough that it's still, and when this lesson finally ends, it's like, I'm here, I'm willing to learn it, and I still happen not to get it right. When will I know? And I know Eckhart says in his book at the end, it's like, when you don't need to ask that question anymore. So I know I'm still asking these questions. And it's just like, what else can I do?
It's
What
about
else
doing
can you do
Can
to
I share? Oh, sorry.
To learn the lesson and move on to
Go
the
ahead, April.
8th grade.
April, go
So
ahead.
I completely understand that, because in my life, it comes from basically all the abandonment. And in my life, I had this phrase that is still in me. I know that it's a pain body phrase. I'm aware of that. I don't let myself sit with it, but however, I'm aware that it's still slightly there. And the phrase is, I am alone. I was born alone and I will always be alone. I had a brother. I don't have a brother. I had a mother. She left. I had a mother again. She left again. I'm the only one to take care of all these children, all these grandchildren, like dealing with my daughter for the last month. I'm the only one to help her. So it comes from that. When you have that issue, so we relate as humans, we relate God, who we used to think as God, which that entity is evolving in its perception of how we see it, to mom and dad. So if we have issues with mom and dad in our core family, we link that to the creator, and we have a fear that it's not really there for us, or isn't going to be there for us. When I really need it, it's not really there. I struggle. Where are you? I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't feel you. Where are you? It comes from that core issue. It also comes from the initial separation from source, the initial soul separation, because if you listen to all the NDEs, first thing they all say is, I'm home. I'm home. I love it. I don't want to leave. Right? So we have that as well. And your answer to your question is in your question. What do I have to do to be good enough? Nothing. You already are good enough. There's nothing to do. There's no being good enough. You already are good enough. This is an evolution process. This is not a good enough process. So, well, we can go on and on, but
Thank you. Thank you, April. And the
What
other, you shared with us.
Before you go more, Patricia, I wanted to remind you, watch that video about Rupert Spira talking about the perforated circle, that we have our waking mind. That's a perforated circle, right? Out of that, there's another outer circle, which is our total mind,
The
right?
trauma.
Uh,
The trauma.
no, our total mind, which is the subconscious when we are in deep sleep, right? That's a perforated circle, right? And the trauma or any memories lie outside of a waking mind, right? Then out of these two circles is this larger circle of the infinite mind, which is each and every one. We may think that envy is my personal problem. No, envy is a general collective issue. Abuse is a general collective issue. This abandonment, I feel abandoned, April feels abandoned, you feel abandoned. I mean, abandonment is a collective consciousness issue. So it's the bigger perforated circle, right? So what is happening is your waking state mind at some point in time is going and relaxing back. Instead of being in awareness, it's relaxing back, and that perforation is allowing that collective, the bigger circle, to penetrate back into your waking mind. Does that make sense? That's why he talked about the perforated circle, that the big unconsciousness that lies around, right? That's the infinite mind. Every thought that we thought, that's called the Akashic field. Every thought, every archetype, every emotion that we feel resides in the big outer circle. But out of all of this, there's the white paper on which this. So we just need to be the white paper. Right? When things penetrate our psyche, when things penetrate, at least you have the awareness that, oh, now I'm feeling this negative energy. right? I'm feeling drained because I'm looking for, at least you have the awareness. So you are in that white paper. You are, some portion of you is the white paper. You're not completely dark, right? But what you're doing is that perforations are allowing, like at some point in time, your waking mind, right, is totally the white paper. And it's not allowing the outside, the outer circle, whatever is held in your subconscious or the collective mind to penetrate in. And that's what we need to protect. We need to protect our waking mind. And that goes with how much am I sleeping? How much meditation am I doing? How much am I actually doing presence practice? That's why it is about doing the work. And that's what I wanted to tell. Both questions that you're asking and Hugh is asking, it's about doing the work. It's about being in that, being the white paper, right? Not allowing the perforations of the external world penetrate into what our waking mind is. Because this planet right now, with the amount of unconsciousness that is going on in the planet, the mass shootings, the wars, if you start to look for the negative that is happening, there's a lot of negative. Leave alone that, you're going into a physical space where there may be pain bodies all around you, just like what Hugh is saying, right? If you allow the pain body of the other absorb into you, that perforated circle, you're allowing their pain bodies absorb into you. What is allowing that pain body to absorb into you is the fact that the presence is not there. So the cultivation of presence is the most important thing, whether it is Dr. Joe Dispenza, whether it's Byron Katie, whether it's Eckhart, doing the work, being in presence, the amount of presence, and that good sleep is, the 8 hours of sleep is really, really important. Along with that, doing your hour or two of meditation is really, really important. If you're not able to balance that, and you're imbalanced in that, then the outer circles will penetrate. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
One more
the physical, yes, energy also has to help here. And the thing you said, Poonam, about the energy. So anything that if I notice and experience negative stuff, that's the message, that's still something I need to work on. But
because
what
we are not allowed. If I'm feeling negative, even a slight bit of irritation, that means I'm not aligned with source. Because if I'm aligned with source, I'm experiencing gratitude, I'm experiencing kindness, I'm experiencing compassion. Now, this coworker said something and I felt like, ouch,
right,
kind of thing.
what do you do with that in that very moment? You're feeling it, so you just sit with this. Is that you obviously don't react, but
what I would do is like tell everyone I'm taking a 20-minute break, and I would pick my sacred acoustics meditation and do 20 minutes of meditation. So that brings me back to center, right?
got it.
Immediately brings me back to center. Meditation, getting back into our, this thing is the key. Getting back to our center is the key. And like in the afternoon, that's why I'm saying,
froze.
Did I freeze? Did I freeze or Patricia?
I think I froze because all of you guys froze for me.
Okay. I think your internet had an issue, Patricia.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is like in the afternoon, do a meditation in the afternoon at work. If you have such turbulent work conditions, then in the afternoon, don't waste time talking to people. Do a meditation in the afternoon. Even if you take a break, like I would say, take a break. If you're there at 9, then at 11, do a meditation. At 1, do a meditation. At 3, do a meditation. The heart brain breathing, do heart brain breathing. That's what April is saying. Before Francesca wanted to say something. Before Francesca says something, I wanted to tell you another thing that I remembered is one of the advices that Eckhart gives is this lack in incompleteness is also physical, Hugh, that we are one half, right? We are either man or woman, right? So there always is a certain attraction towards the other. Like it's very natural to go say, oh, I need another to complete myself. That's why Oprah and him have a conversation where this Jerry Maguire line, "You complete me," is like the worst line ever said in a movie. So what we are feeling physically is I need the other to complete me. So when we overcome that I need the other to complete me is when we actually succeed. And that wanting the other to complete me is again back to the same answer. When we are in full presence power, we don't need another to complete us. Francesca, you were going to say something to Patricia. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with Patricia that you are enough. Where you're at in your journey, everything that you are doing right now is enough. Whenever somebody shows up, whether they're at work or in the home or wherever it is that they're showing up from, to tell you that you're not good enough, has nothing to do with you. It's based on how they're feeling, and they're feeling that way based on where their consciousness is at, based on where they're in their journey in any given moment of time. And it has nothing to do with you. Now, in relation to you feeling that trigger, it's because there is a little bit of inner work that needs to take place. And I highly recommend journaling and asking yourself the question, what is it, within me that's causing these? Why am I not enough? Why am I not feeling enough? Right? I think it goes right back to the need for approval. And I think it ties into your relationship with your mom. So I highly, highly recommend journaling and asking yourself that question, like where am I not meeting myself? Because that's what it comes down to. When we're not feeling enough, it has nothing to do, in the end, it has very little to do with what's going on outside of us. Like what's happening outside of us, the triggers and so forth, is just designed to show us and to tell us, okay, we have something within us that needs evolving, that needs healing. And somewhere within us, we're seeking approval because we're not feeling like we're enough. And not enoughness, it is a pain body. I think it's a giant feminine pain body. So it's a collective feminine pain body. So a lot of that is also coming from that, collective field, right? From the external field as well. But yours, particularly, I highly, highly recommend in your journaling, after your meditation, is do that self-examination. Where am I not meeting myself? Because there are things that you are supposed to do or should be doing for yourself to help you feel that feeling of completeness, so that you can show up and emanate that joy and that light and be all of who you are. And there are things in your day-to-day life that you might not be doing that you need to do, but it's hard to see what that is without doing that self-examination in relation to how am I not showing up for myself? How am I not meeting myself?
You know what I also do, it's I show up in the beginning huge with open heart and the energy and want to give everything and do everything, and then it's not being appreciated because, and I take it personally, and then I just withdraw. Okay, I guess nobody, and then I go to that place that, I'm closing myself off again, because like I need, it's just very, I really hoped I was done with this already.
I'll share something that I haven't shared before publicly with you in relation to that. And I always, like I tell this to my clients and in my workshops and stuff, we suffer the wrong way. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. And the reason being, the reason why we suffer the wrong way, it has to do with it's in relation to how our egoic state of mind conditioned us to think and feel, and the relationship that it has with our pain body. So when we show up, you know, and we think we're showing up from the heart, and you know, and we do, because in our current state of mind, we believe that we are, and we are, because that's all we can see, right? And people, you know, don't receive us, you know, the way we expect, or the way we think, you know, we should be received, because this is all of who I am, you know, I'm giving everything here, and there is this, you know, let down, this person. Here is the thing, when I say we suffer the wrong way. And this comes down to understanding. So the answer to everything you're going through right now, the key is going to be understanding. But before that, the people who are receiving you, you know, this beautiful energy that you are, you know, this beautiful heart that you're showing up from, they don't know how to receive. All of us were in that boat at some point in our journeys, okay? They don't know how to receive. As a result of that, they're receiving based on the way they were taught how to receive. And when you look at just the population as a whole, and I mean, this is happening to like everybody, so this is like all across the board. When you look at everybody as a whole in relation to how they receive, we received the wrong way. We were thought to receive the wrong way. We were thought to even receive the wrong things. You know, our idea of what we should be receiving is based on what television is feeding to us, right? So it's based on everything that's being sold to our subconscious pain body programs, as opposed to our higher self, which is the essence of who we truly are. So these people that are showing up, it's not because they have anything against you. It's simply because they do not know how to receive. Though they don't even know how
I
to
do,
love
I kind of do
themselves.
know that, but the
Yeah.
part
I
that
have
I
a
still expected, it's, I beat myself up that I
I
thought I knew, you know,
I have a
I'm past
question.
that.
And
I have a
and that's
question.
where we get into expectations and such a little bit, right? So again, there is a little bit of inner work in there. It's like an energy field of inner work that I would recommend sitting with your journal, because it's the best way to, you know, to ask that question. Why am I, you know, showing up? You know, why am I feeling these feelings, you know, of why am I seeking approval? Where are these expectations coming from? You know, where within me does that energy reside? You know, there's some whys and where questions that you need to ask and during meditation. And I highly recommend journaling.
Thank you. Yes, I have journals, so I've been using that as well.
Thank you, Francesca. I have a question, Patricia. So even today, I posted this post from Eckhart Tolle where he talks about, and we've done, I don't know if you were present when we did the talk on Bhagavad Gita, but what he says is you have to be so totally and fully present. And he takes the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and puts it into his teachings, right? He says every action needs to be such that you are so totally and fully present with the action that you offer the action almost like it's a selfless sacrifice. You offer the action to divinity and then you let go. Right? So you offer the action to divinity, and the joy is in the giving of the action. So why is there seeking approval from coworker? Why is there seeking approval from manager? I did this action. I wrote this email. I did this action. Whatever. I did this for my coworker. I bought them bananas. I did it. I bought the bananas for my joy, not because I want them to love me. Right? I bought the bananas because I love seeing bananas and I love seeing people eat bananas. So I bought the bananas. what does that have to do with somebody coming and telling me, oh, Patricia, you're such a wonderful person?
No, it's
You-
not even, it's not
No,
even
no,
that.
I'm just using some example, right? What does it have to do? And you will realize there is a line in The Power of Now. If I can find that line, I will post it. He says the ego will get what it wants when the ego is no longer there. You will get the love and appreciation when you stop the wanting, clinging, wanting the love and appreciation. The moment the ego wants, right? People come to me, why did they not appreciate? You did something for your manager and he didn't appreciate it. Why did he not appreciate it? No, you did that thing because it gave you joy. Why did it give you joy? Because this job is what pays your bills. It gives you your salary. It gives you your vegetables for your organic, high quality organic vegetables. That is the joy of having a full-time job, right? Why do I honor my job and hold it sacred? It pays the bills of a very expensive place that I live in. It pays my electricity. It pays my high-speed internet, which allows me to do the Zoom. I pay for 100 gig internet connection.
It's more,
Right.
it's more of
One,
more of it not having enough of a impact. I was hoping that if I open myself and become the divine instrument and really empty myself from ego and person, that the flow will actually make people's lives better. And I see them getting sick, and I offer them, medical medium stuff also here and there, because they come talk to me because they see that I'm every day there. I have high energy, I'm smiling. So they kind of, but then whatever I offer, they just don't do. So I'm
So
feeling like it's
I have a
you're not
question,
you're not
Patricia.
you're not letting
Sorry.
go. You do. You give them advice. How much do we give advice about medical medium on Facebook Live Q&A and a group meditation, and how many people listen? And how many years have I been doing this? I've been doing this since 2020. How many times, April, have we brought up a discussion on diet, nutrition? We one whole Facebook Live Q&A, we dedicated it to nutrition. Like even Caesar contributed, other people contributed. We dedicated a
I
whole
think
Facebook
how many stories Punim has, if you've heard of Eckhart, where people are like, yeah, somebody bought me your book, but it sat on my shelf for 5 years.
Yes,
You can
beautiful.
lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
And it's
And
okay.
Patricia, yeah, I have one more question that I'd like to suggest you add to your journal. Who is telling you that these people aren't appreciating what you're doing?
It's not that they're not appreciating, it's just that I don't see the manifestation of things getting better through my actions.
You may not
What
see
if
it.
they don't know how to do any of what you're doing? Because remember, you're on this beautiful journey of inner work, and you're doing all of this stuff that's teaching us, like we all are, that's teaching us how to show up. They're not on the same journey. So what if they don't know how to show up,
It's like
right?
I still compare myself to even to you guys. I feel that I'm here, I'm doing the work, and I just can't move fast enough to get out of that stickiness and keep falling back into, I meditate, I think, what else? And am I supposed to
So,
like go to monastery somewhere and just completely my life?
so who is telling you that you're
Patricia,
not moving fast enough? Who?
Patricia, why don't
There's
you
a reason
write
why I'm
me on
asking
the,
that who question for journaling. Yeah, because that's a giant question. The answer is really easy, but it's really important that you come to that answer on your own. Who's telling you this? Who's narrating those thoughts?
I like how April actually says, it's too much of the contract. I need to, but you say it with a smile. I still suffer through this.
You were going to say something, April?
I was going to say, Patricia, you can write me on the side. We can make a time to talk about things like this. And, I won't charge you. I'm not going to charge you. And I don't always smile, Patricia. I don't always smile. I am human. And this entire year, and I'm not kidding, that we are in July going into August. This entire year has been extremely difficult for me. Extremely difficult.
Yeah, I
Probably
know,
one of my
exactly.
more difficult years. But again, it's that faith that's behind all of that BS. That faith that's behind that says, I know that this has been perfectly designed. I know that there is a source behind me. I know there's a reason for this. Again, that does not mean that I like it. Right? So, but you can write me on the site and we can pick a time to talk.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you. With everything else that's happening in your life, I feel honored. Thank you. You're so generous.
I wanted to say the same thing to Patricia as April. Feel free to reach out and write to me as well. I'm more than happy to help in any way, shape, or form. And again, same as April, this has been the most challenging year of my life. You guys know, because you guys were helping me a couple of Fridays ago, because even as healers and guides or whatever we are, we also need help too, because we are in this in this world, we are here in our human, we are human as well as the being, right? So yeah, I'm smiling today, but today is like my reset day. It just so happened when I woke up, that's what it was today. It's my reset day. But as you guys know, 2 weeks ago, I was crying every single day up until my silent retreat, right? So it is, the journey can be challenging at times. The key is to be gentle with yourself and just be present. Just keep honoring what's coming up and being present with it and asking those questions. And believe me, it will all work itself out. It's I call it magic, the universal magic that happens. Right, so you are enough. I see you.
Yeah, that's my lesson, the trust. I guess I still don't have the trust that everything is the way it needs to be, and that's for a reason, and that I chose this. It's like all those trusting. And I do have one last question to Hugh. I wasn't sure if I understood that energy that we need to put to changing the stone into a pillow. What did you mean by that as a part of your question today?
I meant that basically I was dealing with a brick, and it was like the challenge of making a brick into a soft pillow was going to take some work that I didn't even know how to pursue, even get there or whatever. I used to be that brick. I was a construction guy, and that's when I said fight fire with fire. It was who could belittle whoever the fastest, and Barney Badass. Everybody's the loudest mouth wins and whatnot. But I know I'm getting off course here. But going back to what your question was, it was just, to me, seeing somebody that's so far, like I said, deeply unconscious. I just know that to understand me, and like Francesca says, in this journey, I'm trying to it's like with you as your workers, you can't go in there and expect them to understand where you're coming from, just like I can't, and you're getting upset over it. And I sort of am too, but I'm not going to get upset over it. I'm just going to back off and not put the work in, I guess, as you guys say. It's not really upsetting me. Like I said earlier, it's more like I don't have that much time as it is. It just seems like it's just going to take more time that I don't have.
So you just
No,
withdraw.
but it's not putting
yourself.
that, it's not putting the work in. It's accepting that that's the level they're at.
In
With
their journey, yes.
presence and love. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
don't even got to put work in. You just got to have presence. That's
Yeah.
it.
And surrender and trust, because at the end, the whole journey is about building that relationship of trust with the egoic state of mind. And who is the better teacher, or I call it the tester of trusting, of testing you in every way, shape, or form. It will crucify you literally just to see, you just, all you have to do is keep showing up. Keep showing up.
And the same thing with Patricia, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really her same situation. And like Poonian says, it's weird how two different questions come together in the end. And here we are.
Always. And that energy to give, right, Hugh and Patricia, is from your presence power. The energy that Eckhart is talking about, to selflessly give, this offer your action and detach, right? You offer the next action, detach, offer the next action, detach. And you don't know, that other person may, in the back of their mind, they are making a change. Like it's taking them a little bit more shove and push to keel them over, right? They may make small changes. They may just get lemon water in the morning, or maybe get lemon water once a week, do something once a month, right? Even that is a little shift. But just because this person is being dense doesn't mean that your work is not being done. And then that also is a lesson that, okay, people in my physical space are not changing. So can I do it in the virtual environment? Can I get on social media and start posting about medical medium and actually attract people? Like if I talk about Eckhart's work in my workplace, maybe one person will listen, right? I may talk to 100, 200 people, one person will listen. But here, look how many thousands are part of this group, right? So that means that the person, the planetary intelligence in the form of those people, is just saying, Patricia, your work does not lie in this environment. Your real work is not in this environment. Listen, life is giving you experiences that are most needed for the evolution of your consciousness. And that evolution needs to be your expectation that I'm going to change everybody that I'm touching. No, it may not be that everybody that you're touching, but it may change Melba when you speak to her. It may change somebody else virtually that you're speaking to. It may change them. You inspire us. You inspire Louise and myself every day. We are changing because of you, right? I gave up coffee because I said, if it's that easy for Patricia to give up coffee, why am I sticking with that one cup of coffee? I'm going to give up coffee as well. You're changing me.
Mm.
You're influencing me. I mean, look at that power, right? You don't even know how you're telling somebody something. I mean, the fact that you post some picture of what you cook, you post something about what you did, you said goulash, that we get like that inspiration. Oh, I'm going to go make a potato something. Oh, I'm going to go do this, right? That's what Louise, you and I are doing to each other. Because we may, this work is like you'll get, you need constant inspiration, and the inspiration comes from each other, right?
I think I'm still seeing the smallest thing every one of you do. I so appreciate, I'm grateful, but I think giving it so much meaning, and no matter what I do, like I don't see any value in it. So I think it's still.
But what you do for us, for Louise and me, is so valuable to me. I mean, why would I create a chat group and keep you connected to me so that I draw inspiration from you, right? It's not that everybody's in my immediate vicinity actually believes in the medical medium protocol, right? But you and Luis are so inspirational about it every day. She's saying, Luis saying, oh, I did lemon water celery juice. Then I'll go do something. I'll go make spinach soup, or I'll go make heavy metal
Right,
detox
that's fun.
smoothie,
You're right. You're right. It's
right?
fun.
So
And
they are
you've
influencing.
helped me. Yeah, I wanted to share that because, you know, I was telling that to Poonam before we started our live 2 Fridays ago. Remember when I was in my dark nights of my soul, and it was so dark. I couldn't even remember my own wisdom. Nothing was coming through. And you and Poonam had this beautiful talk with me, and both of you, you know, you inspired me. I remember I actually did my dishes, and that's how I ended up going to the silent retreat. One thing kept happening after the next, and I came out of that dark hole. And here I am today, you know, so I want to say thank you. You were very, very, you know, you were encouraging me, you know, you reminded me that I have these gifts, you know, and I can share it with the world. And I even took action because of you guys. So,
Oh,
you know, I
wonderful.
just want to say, yes, thank you for that. Thank you. So
Well, then
you
I'm
are
so
helping, you are
glad.
making a huge difference. And so thank you. Deep, deep bows of gratitude to you.
And guess what, guys? I'm sitting here and basically subconsciously begging you for acknowledging me, and I'm feeling so uncomfortable when you do it. I'm just like, I want to
Because you're
just want to, yeah,
receiving love.
run away from it. It's like, I can't, it's so uncomfortable.
And
It-
a couple
That's
of months
good.
back,
That's
when
actually really good. Ask yourself, why is it uncomfortable to get all the love and attention?
Hmm.
So that will bring up a lot of uncomfortability, what you didn't get. And the very thing that you're allowing everybody to give you, okay? And then we're trying to help and you're saying, but I don't get it, I don't get it. And then you talk about at work, and then you say, when I talk to them, isn't that just a mirror of what we're doing to you, you're doing to them? So once you shift in you, all of a sudden something else will shift. And everything that we're all saying, we're all giving little tidbits or little pieces of love up a long time ago because I wasn't getting the attention. And now I'm listening, I am getting the attention. I'm getting the love and support by watching others give to you. And I'm watching you, Patricia, reach out, even though it feels uncomfortable, but you're still here. And I'm like, oh my God, this here is how it works. And sometimes I can't express or explain the miracle of how love works. But in this group, love has shown me what I couldn't see or understand in my thinking mind. It just is. And it all comes together. All of a sudden you went, bingo. So it's beautiful.
I love that you are on that trip. I mean, you know, we missed
I,
you the other time, and I was like, "Where's Ken? He needs to show up and tell
oh my God.
us all about it."
I would love to share with you. I'm going to add what everybody else said. Do you ever want to talk, whatever, let me know. And I would love to have a deep conversation with you.
Oh, yes,
So,
yes, I will. Thank you, friends.
all right.
Thank you, dear
I wa-
souls.
I wanted to tell you another thing. A couple of months back, you were saying something, you and Marla was saying something to me during group meditation, but my cousin Shivani, who was on the group meditation, remember how do you say it? Ho'oponopono prayer?
Ho'oponopono.
Right.
I forgive
Exactly.
you, thank
I
you.
love you. I'm sorry.
I
Please
love you.
She
forgive
like
me. Thank
completely
you.
had a
Right.
transformational weekend or something after that. So you don't realize who you're helping, but you were talking to me. Remember, I was giving you some advice and you were talking to me, and she took it. So
And I know that Ken does that. Ken knows that too, that Ho'oponopono.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Something
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And like Poonam was saying so eloquently tonight, is you have to have it all the time, like Eckhart says. You got to really be in that divinity. And I got to be in that gentle, loving, energy that is all around me. And when I'm in the silence, I realize that's my mirror. My mirror is the silence when I see it. Every time I see you and I see those beautiful flowers behind you, I see the butterfly and I see you. That's you. You are the butterfly. You are the flowers. It's the same energy of that loving energy that is everything. And I
Beautiful.
tell you, this trip has been so incredible. The animals, the sun, watching the rain, the thunder and the lightning, and just experience the shifts and the different plants. And I'm realizing, oh my God, it's like being with different people. And I'm realizing it's just a mirror. Everything is. It's just magical.
Where are you now, by the way?
I'm in Minnesota, and I'm about 2 miles from the Canada border. I'm at the Voyager International Park,
Oh,
and I'm looking at the sun right now coming down. I can see the water. I can see a family with 2 babies. It's like, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I'm so submersed around so much love. It's unbelievable.
and you
Beautiful.
definitely don't feel alone.
No, the first time in my life, Patricia, it's like, I love everything about me. And what it is, it's like, I'm embracing it. And so when I feel uncomfortable, that uncomfortability, I go, thank you. But I don't understand it. Thank you. I'm so grateful for the uncomfortability. And I know I'm not alone. Thank you, God. And it's just miraculous. I've been so much at peace these last 3 weeks that it's incredible. I'm in my element. I'm finally giving myself what I need. I'm not fighting and resisting anymore. And I realized I'm giving myself the best gift I can give myself. And that's to love myself and put myself with all the things that I love.
I think you should have taken Hugh on your trip with you.
I know you, I love to talk to you too, you. Everything you say, I go, my God, you're definitely a mirror for me.
You know, it's the same thing. I swear to God.
Yes, absolutely. I used to be a brick too. You even got a red shirt on. But anyway,
Right.
I love it. I love it. Tonight's been super, super. I just love
Yes.
listening to everybody.
I feel so too. It's been incredibly amazing. So infinite gratitude that all of you were here. Hugh and Kimberly, thank you so much for your question. Francesca, April, Patricia, Ken, thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you.
Infinite gratitude. And everyone, Louise and Mike and Christina and Lakshmi and Summer, everybody, Nada, all of them were online. Cecile. So it has been a wonderful, wonderful, magical, mystical evening.
Thank you.
So,
Thank
Many
you so
blessings.
much. Yes, you.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Generosity
the
of
answer to your
spirit.
question is
Thank
yes.
you.
Many
Bless your
blessings.
heart.
Sending love to everybody.
Have a wonderful
Thank
night.
you,
evening.
everybody.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.